This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, October 1st, 2022. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market recap for Saturday, October 1st, 2022. Interesting week. Definitely interesting close. Big sell on the close in the market. Hopefully people are staying safe, staying out of laggards, trading leaders, trying to identify the best trades, which we've talked about. Hopefully you've been holding up better than some of the other things. As I keep warning people, we're in this phase where we're in this spike in the VIXs, oversold conditions, looking for that rally before the probably bigger down move going into October. Keep in mind, though, midterm election year, funkiness going on in Russia. Potentially they're willing to talk. Do we really trust it? We've talked about all these factors. There's a lot going on. So you have to be nimble and do not get caught up in trying to be right always about every little move, because that's what's going to catch you, especially if you hold things overnight. You could get stuck. All right. First note I want to talk about is, again, they're talking about the VIX in 2022 versus 2008. And you can see here at the top, this was from 2006, 2009. That's why I keep telling them, I'm anticipating one more drop at the start of the fourth quarter in the VIX, and then it might turn into the end of goodbye. Because keep in mind, I've always said this, the end of the year, quarterly, end of the year tax loss selling, end of the year bonus calculations, all these things that factor, mutual fund, end of tax years, all these things play into getting people to potentially unload stocks into the end of the year to take the losses, to basically just get to even, start over, whatever. It's just like you in an individual account when you're unsure and you have the gun against your head kind of decision making, you just end up liquidating. And that's what the markets will do if they feel like the participants feel like they have to take their losses, and they'll just unload. And that's what usually gets the big spike in the VIX that ends years, especially in 2008. That's how I remember it very specifically, is that you just knew people were trying to calculate your bonuses, and they wanted any gains they had, they took. Mutual funds were just dumping anything that was not winning and doing well. You just had people taking tax loss sells because they probably bought, for example, maybe they bought a stock like Tesla early last 2022 at near the highs, and now they're selling it, to harvest the losses against future or past gains. That's how you get the accelerated move. And I just don't think we're there yet. This is what I've anticipated. Chop. I know we took out the level lows. We'll talk about it here shortly, but I'll show you some things where I think that this is showing a little bit of divergence from what is actually about to happen, which to me, it is going to be a pop, I think, at some point. And it probably will be 5 to 8% pretty quickly, strong over the course of a couple of days. If you're following, please check out Twitter. Make sure you subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. I appreciate all the participation. Again, the people who participate with me outside of the Discord room, who really want to be in, again, we can talk about getting an invite. Come on in. Talking about this stuff all the time, because again, I've said this over and over. The bull market that's coming is commodities. You have to put yourself in a position, and I will show you more again in the weekend recap of why I think commodities will come out of this strong. Which it's going to be, you're going to think of small commodity companies acting like tech behemoths, the type of runs they potentially might do in the next 3 to 5 years. All right, Bitcoin. This is so things that don't look terribly bearish, right? Remember, we're talking about mass liquidation, VIX spikes. You need everything will capitulate. We talk about that. We talk about commodities, how they're going to be choppy for the next, who knows, months, years. Not years, but maybe less than a year, 6 months. We'll see. Point being, Bitcoin does not look like it's breaking. Oil, we talked about it bouncing at our 76 level. It's long-term support. Not surprised. There it is. Zoom, zoom. I still think we're going back to the 60s, but everybody's anticipating going back to the 60s immediately. It could. But however, the faster oil drops, the more scared the market's going to be. But if it just slowly creeps back, the market will like that. And near term, again, if the market is anticipating inflation Well, if oil goes from $1.30 to 70s, 60s in 3 months, we all know inflation's coming down. The PCE is going to come in. Now, how far down? I mean, again, I think inflation is anchoring in because of undersupplies, but near term, the market could get excited about, hey, look, oil prices are down. And then it's like, oh, well, oil prices are down because what? The economy is collapsing. This is what the... Sorry, I'm moving my seat. This is what happened in 2008. Like, at a certain point, oh, hey, great. Oil's coming down. And then it was like, oh, gosh, it's because we're in a monster recession. Now, how big is our recession going to be? I don't think it's going to be a housing crisis type of recession. I just think it's a Fed unwinding the balance sheet type of recession that could lead to, again, I mean, they pump so much liquidity into it, they can't pull it out fast enough without causing a crash. And they might, it probably turns into a slow burn. And at some point, QT won't necessarily matter as much as, just the overall market in general is going to have this. I would consider this like this. If they unwind at a certain point, it will price in the unwind. Keep in mind, money isn't destroyed; it rotates. So if money rotates, and think about it, if they're pulling money out of certain bond and bond product markets, well, there's still tons of money in Apple, Amazon, Google, tech. I've said this a million times. That money is not going to go being pulled out of the market by the feds. No, that money is going to rotate. And that theme, chop to rotate, is a huge, difficult factor to predict for people who are newer to the markets, because they just think this is going to happen now and it's going to start this big move and it's going to absolutely go right now and this is how it has to work and boom, 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 it's going to happen in 3 months. This process is like a big tanker turning. I think Hope in Town said the same thing, like, the tanker has to turn. The count balance has to turn. No, I'm just kidding. You'll do better, trust me, if you understand this stuff. But that's the thing. The tanker has to turn. And so one of the first things we talk about short term, near term for a bounce, the dollar, right? Not making new highs. Whatever's going on in the Bank of England, they put a finger in the dam to try to prevent more leaks. I think the dollar, I've said this event, is oversold, probably comes back. Overbought, coming back, will go higher eventually. That's one of the things. Here, I guess this is the weekend recap. It can be a little longer. I try to explain to people, like, we're seeing dollar volatility, but you haven't seen dollar volatility. I'm talking about like 1 month. Look at this, 29 to 24, right? In 2008, 2007. Look at this. Look at the dollar just going absolutely wild in a month. This is still pretty relative. I mean, again, higher volatility, but not the extreme. I think the extreme volatility of the dollar will be a blow off of epic proportions to the upside. Bonds, we talked about potentially bottoming. I got stopped out at the lows. Congratulations. Novice gap. Talk about novice gaps preceding a trend reversal. If rates are going lower near term, what do I always say? It's the velocity of the speed of the bond market that scares people. Right? In 2008, it's okay when bonds are just chopping. But when they start getting bought that aggressively, there's usually a problem. This is even slow in turn. That was okay. Again, remember, the markets didn't collapse in 2014, 15. But here you go. Here's like the COVID. Like, bonds, stability. And again, why do you think the market actually... It's part of the reason why the market tanked, why we thought maybe we might near a bottom, right? The velocity when we were short made sense. Now the bond market looked like it was basing. Even the novice gap, I mean, literally started. It's just, there's a novice gap from the start of the month and a novice gap to end the month, potentially. But I guess it's technically a professional gap if you go look at the daily. But it's crazy how the month started, boom, closed down, I guess, right near the lows. So starts a professional gap, ends with a novice gap. I personally think bonds near term are going to be tough. I expect the TLT to rise, but the velocity of the TLT to rise will be dependent, will affect the market in a way that you think can create volatility or not. If the bonds stabilize out, and again, if the TLT's up $1, whatever, if it gets bought up $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, there's probably something bigger going on. And people are like, that's a big difference, Dan. And it's like, well, yeah, think about it. I'm trying to, like, we haven't seen it. Obviously, bonds got destroyed in 2022. I'm trying to, let me see. Let me just pull back to what I'm talking about. I guess that's COVID. I mean, it was rising, but that kind of move, like that's probably, again, that's not really what I'm thinking. I apologize. It's just, I like to wing this stuff. You guys know it. I'm trying to find, relive the examples of the past. Here you go. All right, 2008. Like this kind of, here you go. And remember, this was priced differently for 3%, 3 to 5% moves in the bond market. Like if it starts going bonkers like that, that's what I'm anticipating will eventually happen. But remember what happened in October and November, like that choppy action. That's what I'm anticipating for now. Let me just, if I switch tickers, it'll go right back to it, the beginning. My guess is that we get into this chop cycle. Maybe it goes. Yeah, this is what I thought. I guess 109. I said 110. 110. I would think more probably 109 is probably your ceiling, and it just chops around. If the market stabilizes. If they don't, this is what's been hard, is usually bonds get bought in when the market starts collapsing because deflation. But this has been an monsterly inflationary caused recession. And so bonds had to get sold. And obviously QT and people unloading. But the people have to remember, everybody who's selling bonds was anticipating this before the Feds started actually enacting the QT. They wanted to sell before then. So buy the rumor, sell the news near term, sell the rumor, buy the news. And I'm talking about a big up move near term, but probably chop a base out. And if things get crazy, absolutely the bond market could pop big. TLT could pop big. It's just got to watch what's going on. The VIX up against the highs. Things that don't look bearish to me, right? Or bullish to me. Bearish, yes. Sorry, my brain's just not functioning well this morning. Gap up, close at the lows, and now chopping. I mean, the VIX was basically flat today, which is crazy because what was the SPY down 1.5%? I think this is where again, if you look at the 2008 stuff, let me pull up the monthly. You had this pop, and then you had this pullback here. Then it got up to the range highs in the 30s, pulled back. Getting up into the 30s. Does it pull back one last time? That's my guess. Because of the seasonality, because of again, it really feels like the market has given every reason for the market to be bearish and collapse, right? I always just tell people, be careful, because the stock market is not the economy, and the economy is not the stock market always. Coming into these levels, you might be able to convince bulls that the actually bottom is in, which I believe will not be the case. Long-term bottom, not in at all. If you can somehow convince this and pull back, it might get people to get excited and get the market to spike. Because think about it. Here we're at the range lows, right? Big MOC on the close yesterday. Close at dead lows. Seen that a lot. Close on the dead highs before reversal, right? Close on a dead high. Pop, fail. Point being is, you look at this, you go, man, that looks bad. Got it. Does it need to probably go a little lower? At this point, again, a market's bottoming on a Friday. Even for the near term, maybe not. We'll see. I'm trying to think. There's probably some gaps in here. I apologize for making it look funny. But I'm just curious to see where the most, the next gap is. All right, so 357. We closed this gap right here, right? I'm just drawing what I'm seeing for you guys. So this gap closed. We might be there. This might be a Friday / Monday capitulation chop. Because look now here where we're at. Oh, this line is not. It's more probably like that. We fill the gap. It just seems likely that the best thing to do here, we talk about traps. Because, again, in the VIX in the 30s is not VIX in the 50s, 60s, 80s. You'll know when the market's ready to just peel and completely unload. We're not there yet. I don't think the seasonality makes sense for it, but again, I could always be wrong. I'm just trying to warn folks, like, of all the different scenarios. Remember, we're coming into what? The 2020 highs. We're into this COVID pop area. Here's the 50-month. Looks pretty bad, right? Notice what happens after big red candles. Big red candles. Indecision or backfill. Just keep that in mind, okay? Especially when you're looking at the monthly. Because this is the thing. Like, people go, oh, it looks terrible. And then you go, well, what's the preceding action? Big reds followed by a green. Meaning either chop or a pop. We'll see what happens here. I mean, I'm anticipating a worse chop. I've said this. People are like, you're crazy, Dan. The market's about to absolutely implode. And it's like, well, the reason why I don't think it is because everybody thinks that. And right now, the things that are affecting the market, if inflation is coming down because of oil prices, central banks are getting easy. Maybe not necessarily the United States, but other ones are trying to prevent liquidity crisis. It needs to get a lot worse for this thing to actually open up, and which I think it will. Because Europe is like, the can of whoop-ass has just been opened. But a small sip is the first start, right? Like, they're not chugging it. They're tasting it. They don't realize, like, they have to go full-on printer burr. And so they just think they fixed it with a little taste. No, they're going to have to open up the can again. QQQ, taking out the lows. This one, now this is where if you're actually watching the QQ, now again, I don't really like the Qs. Because I think tech, I think if I've said this amount, tech is going to take the biggest beat down because it has been a tech bull market. Here you go. Here's the 50-month. I said watch this area, right? Around 370 or 270. There you go. Does it break right through it on the first? I don't think so, but we'll see. Moving averages can do whatever they want. IWM, things that aren't bearish. Look at this. We're not anywhere close to the lows. And when I say close to the lows, you saw the other ones taking out the lows. So this is where I'm telling you, like, there's mixed signals here. Everyone who's just like, again, I'm not trying to be mean or criticize people. Like, they're like, the market is going down, Dan. How do you not see it? It's so obvious. I'm like, well, I feel like I see a lot of mixed signals. Here you go. You're at the COVID levels. Does it play a chop game? No. The market goes in straight lines, always down, always up. All right, well, you go back to the daily again. Things that don't look bearish to me. Remember, we talk about the IWM leading. If the market to me, now again, big tech is a little different than the IWM because remember the QQQ is 100 stocks. Russell was it 5,000? A lot of names. Look at this. Not taking out the lows. Things that don't look bearish to me. Now, do this. What if it pops back up into the 170s? Then I think you can take this for a ride short. Gold. All right. So now I think, and then this is the thing, as the evidence changes, so does your perceptions. I always said, and I said this months ago, watch the earlier video. I said you have to break this level. Everyone who bought from 2020, 21, 22 had to be wrong. I said that's the best way to capitulate gold. Everybody who bought had to buy. Post-COVID, Ukraine had a dump. One of the things I say is when you have a channel, breaking below the channel can typically be a bottom. Said that, right? Again, I don't love the volume, so I think we probably will retest. But what is that? It's a professional gap, near term. We'll see. Again, we'll see if we're starting a big move. But I've said this all along, and people who know, and people who would just criticize because they'll listen to one video and they go, oh, he's what's the best way called? He's just talking his book, or it's easy to say now. And it's like, no, I've been saying this for a while. This is a big cup and handle. Head and shoulders bottom on the monthly. Here you go. I talked about it. Somewhere in this blue zone is the bottom, and I am going back. Let me just remove this trend line. Doesn't seem to be as important as I thought it once was. I'm gonna say this for a while. I anticipate the bottom to be in this zone. Okay? Is this the final bottom? Don't know. Unless, again, because news could change. This is where people are like, oh, you have to do this. my point being is I am not going big long-term bottom here. I'm just not. And if I end up being wrong, guess what? I'll get back in later. I anticipate a bounce, maybe 157, 160. Not a big deal. Things that are, and again, things that aren't bearish to me, bigger capitulation move. If the market is going to absolutely unwind, and say like for Scott, who's always like, look, it's bearish, and Solomon, it's going to end the world of moves down is coming. You should be shorting every pop. Technically, that's correct. But don't get comfortable with it, because things that don't look bearish to me is this. Like gold should be doing what? Melting down. Silver should be melting down, but it's not. It's holding up. Silver should be melting down. The GDX should be absolutely burned to the ground. It's holding up. Participating somewhere in the 25s. GDXJ, we hold this. I haven't sold a single fucking share. Oops, excuse my language. Single share. Participating somewhere maybe 32 to 31. People are over trading this. I said, look at the volume. Look at the volume. Somebody's buying it down here. There's a little markup at least coming. I mean, it should be, 34, 42. 20%. 20% markup potentially. If you bought it at 25, 26, 6 points takes you up to what? 31, 30s. Haven't sold a single share. AG, people are trading it. Buy the dips. Look at it. Things that aren't bearish. Again, the miner should be getting absolutely beaten. Beaten to a pulp. If the VIX is about to open up to a 50, 60, 100 handle like all these people are expecting, metals miners should go absolutely crazy down. Newmont, even this piece of junk, holding, chopping. Again, please pay attention to this stuff. I hate when people have tunnel vision and they just look at one part of the market and they go, well, that's the end of the market. Apple's down, market's down. No, rotation. Rotation. Market rotates. Money is not destroyed. It rotates. If you're losing, someone's winning. If I'm losing, someone's winning. If I'm winning, someone's losing. Well, guess what is that doing? When the market's sold, bought, whatever, the money rotates, my friends. It rotates. Keep it simple. Stop being like all or nothing, like it has to end. Like be evidence-based. And if it actually pipes down, well, guess what? Then it was some news that you couldn't predict. And guess what? Don't act like you're a genius. And the same thing, like if I get lucky, I get lucky. It happens. I don't sit there and go, well, that was great. No, if you were short something and like say you had short FedEx and all of a sudden they guided down 5 days before earnings and you got that, great. But you know what I mean? Like you have to be honest with yourself sometimes. Is it lucky or are you good? Well, right now the evidence says what? Again, here's AEM. We talked about high volume. Love this name. Bouncing back. Probably get somewhere up here in the 46, maybe even the 100-day. Think about it, y'all. Please do not have this mindset that the market has to absolutely unwind at the moment. I'm telling you, it doesn't. I think you're probably going to get into this chop because we're showing you more and more factors. But it doesn't look like the market's capitulating yet. Doesn't look like the market's capitulating yet. Doesn't let me again. Because remember what happened? The VIX, I'll show you guys again in 2008, right? It peaked. I'm like, what are you doing? It started popping in September, peaked in October, right? Why? Again, the gold, silver, miners, all these names were absolutely got taken out to the woodshed, put a bullet in, and buried. They're not doing that right now, okay? So be cognizant of such, okay? All right, let's get into commodities. X, things that aren't bearish. Nowhere near the June lows, holding up. I've said this and I'm going to say this again. Hopefully people are paying attention. As we get into these videos, notice the names that are not making new lows in June. Notice the names that are. The ones that are making new lows below the June lows, leave them alone. The names that aren't, those are the names you trade. It's really that simple. I will repeat that. Take note of this, if it is taking out the June, July lows, that particular name, stock, now people are like miners and gold. I was like, yep, but we're talking about the oversold trade going up with what? commodities, dollar peaking. Again, a lot of little factors, but in general, commodities as a whole, you're going to notice not making new lows. Lay off the ones that are. Tech, right? Nucor. Same thing. Holding the lows. Probably could bounce if the market bounces. It probably bounce better. Again, I told y'all, it's a commodity bull market coming. It's going to have birthing pains. It's not going to be ugly like tech because it gets wrecked. It's going to chop and bounce and hold. Right? Right. Even CCJ, uranium. Right? Right. Look at this. Holding up. I mean, I'll go through all these. Cliff bar. Actually, hold on. I haven't looked at Cliff in a couple weeks. Okay, well, whatever. Add support. Uglier, don't play it. But some of the other names look better, right? VALE, no. Chopping. Look at that action. Look at that. Dollar weakness, people were buying commodities. Again, emerging markets, whatever. Now, I'm not saying go out there and rush and chase and buy it. But I'm telling you, like when you start thinking about a market that's going to rise later, these are the names you look for. I've said this 1,000 times. People are not going to understand this, but we're going to make an absolute killing knowing our past and doing our dang homework. Arrow. Someone popped this one into my radar the other day again, talking about like, whoa, up on decent volume. Look at that. Names that are tradable. Everyone's trying to trade tech. I just kind of gave up on it because I'm like, man, this stuff looks like crap. It looks like absolute crap. So, I don't know. We'll see. Mosaic. Holding. Trend line. Probably bounces. Just keep that in mind. I mean, all of this stuff, I'm not going too deep. I got into CF on Friday. Small amount. Said hold the 100-day. Got in at the 100-day. Where'd it happen? Close at the 100-day. Ah! I don't know, man. Doesn't look that bad to me. Expecting to bounce, maybe 106, maybe up to 104. I'll take it. I'll take 8 points. I mean, if it's safe. NTR, again, we talked about this one. I'll putting more of these into the recap. Just going to go through quick. Again, holding up way better than the June, July lows. Right? Someone asked me about MP. I like the book on this one. It is taking out the recent lows, like Cliff. I'll have to do more research on this one, but I mean, you can see we're into this big support box, right? Commodity name. This isn't tech, right? Keep that in mind. So, I mean, I'm going to like it initially a little more. Speaking of tech, let's get into the train wreck that is tech. Hindsight's 2020. It's like, no, we called the top in this piece of crap up here. I was anticipating a bounce, but this is what's so hard. Once you took out the July lows, it hasn't bounced. Like the other names, like notice some of the commodity stuff is holding up really well. Things that don't look like the market's about to unwind and capitulate. All these things will all look going south for the winter. They don't all look like they're getting that message, my friends. AMD, there is a gap down here. Hello. Fill the gap. Maybe it pops. We'll see. NVIDIA took out the July lows. Leave it alone. It's tried to pop, but then just makes lower lows. Not the ideal swing trade if you're going long. I mean, I would keep it pretty damn simple. I mean, it's the 20-day. Now as the 20-day comes down to it, it looks like you got to get over it to really get any decent little pop. I don't know. I mean, SMH, I mean, this is the hard thing, right? Them SMH peeled and broke today. But look at the action. It's a hammer. Now people say, oh, that's a downward pointing hammer. Okay, well, what is this? Is that an upward pointing hammer? Right? I mean, it's still an indecision candle, right? Is that downward? No, it's just indecision. I mean, that's what I try to explain. I'm trying to find some more on the SMH as we're chatting. Oh, it's a green one. It has to go high. No, the color doesn't matter. Still a hammer. So get back into the current time frame. Indecision. Could this be a bottom? Again, this stuff is due to bounce. It's absolutely been shellacked. Come on, Dan. You got to find the best. You got to do your best to find the best. Apple. I don't know what changed, but nothing I've heard is different than what was said 2-3 weeks ago. Of course, Apple 14 is not a big deal coming to 13, but people are upgrading to the Pros. And I think people who are upgrading to the Pros are the people who own the Apple 11, 12, 10, whatever, right? Because they're getting good deals. In the sense of, I think tons of, I mean, I get a text every day from Verizon. You've paid off half of your phone. You are eligible for an upgrade. Imagine that's what's happening to a lot of people who are in the older generation. The 14 cannibalized by the 13 in the sense that there's not much difference, but the Pros and the whatever Maxes, they're different. Slightly. I don't know. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Point being is I don't think anything's personally changed with any of their guidance, but we shall see, I guess. At this point, I'm laying off tech. I got stopped out. I gave up on it. I haven't said anything about Apple other than, I don't know, be careful. We're into the lower quatrain. Is it quatrain? No, it's quartile, but what is a quatrain? Doesn't that have to do with some sort of art, music? Anyway, point being is, here we go. Here we go again on my own. Going down the whatever it is. This trend line, it should be into play. I personally don't really have an Apple fetish anymore. No desire to touch it, but again, we have to watch it, right? Like, if it takes out the June lows, the market looks bearish, but it's at 138. So does Apple pull the market down while other things hold up until it gets to 130? That becomes an interesting question you have to ask yourself. Amazon doesn't look that bad. Higher chop range. If you want to play tech, I think Amazon looks way better. Just calling it like I see it. CRM, leave it alone. Not acting well, but again, if all these things bounce, it'll bounce, but not that great. Google. Where is my friend who thought Google was going to 141 to fill the gap? You've gone rather quiet. I hope you're safe. Leave it alone. Once it broke these lows. You see what I mean? Like, once the levels break, it doesn't matter if it's green days or red. It's like, leave it alone. I haven't talked about buying Google, Meta. Once it broke 155, leave it alone. Doggy. Microsoft, once this thing took out, the 230, 240, 239, leave it alone. Tech, MicroStrategy, looks better. Not even close. Talked about it, retesting here. That's the name you can play. I mean, you have to understand relative strength is important. I'm trying to think of, is it really stretched down to here? Oh, actually it does. That candle there, that candle there. Does this make sense? Like, there's certain ones you leave alone, and this one's acting better. It has upside potential. Those other ones just seem to get sold on every pop. Netflix acting better, right? Things that don't look bearish, right? If the market's about to freaking implode, why is Netflix points from the highs, recent highs? I mean, it's 15, 16 points. It's not at 160. It's not at 162. No, it's at 235. Trying to sound like a little like Seinfeld. 235! Can you see it? It's not at the lows! Right? Roblox. Not at the lows! Kramer! What are you doing? I guess that's a mediocre Seinfeld, but he's always kind of has that yelling, known for that yelling kind of connotation. I don't want to do that anymore. Hurts the vocal cords. Doesn't look bearish, right? Like, things that you're just like, okay. Tesla, I mean, literally, there's so much bad news on Tesla. Like, Germany's cutting, China's cutting, oil prices are down. It's at the 100-day. They don't look bearish. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not trying to be too goofy, but I look at it, I go, okay. I mean, it's a trader's market. And again, chop. Trader's market, chop market. Stick to leaders. Take notes of this, again, because if you're just trading the same crap you've always traded, and it looks like crap, you might get crap. You might get crap. NASDAQ. God, I missed this one. Nowhere near the June lows. Nowhere. Look. Holding up. I mean, again, at some point I will short this on a bounce. XBI. Things that don't look bearish. Like nowhere near it. Holding up. It made a new high today. As a SPY made new lows. Come on, man. No, but it has to go up and down every day. No. XLF. Holding 30. Holding on for dear life. We'll see what happens. Because again, financials will lead, right? Gotta hold. Morgan Stanley. Nowhere near the lows. Nowhere. JP Morgan. Piece of crap. No buyback. Jamie Dimon. Asshat. Making new lows. This one you have to watch. This isn't Credit Suisse yet, but think in mind, if you want to short banks, this is the one you short. One of them. Anyway, sorry, I love this stuff sometimes. It's just so fun. Let's get into solar. Itchy, scratchy. I got an itch. No, need more cowbell. Holding the 200-day. Nowhere near the lows. Nowhere near the wipeout lows. Maybe this could drop more, but I'm anticipating the bounce than the flop. If you see an 80 handle, please call me, text me, email me, fly to Denver. I'll pay for it just to let me know. ENPH holding up pretty damn good. You know, support equals resistance. Rink. Got to break 270 to be bearish. Pray it comes up and turns into a head and shoulder. Head, knees, and toes, and shoulders. No, head and shoulders. Yeah, that's what we want. I want it. I want to see it. That to me will be the easiest short. Somewhere, I don't know, 300, 310. Sedge, this thing is a donkey. But even at indecisiveness today, there was your head and shoulders. Man, that's a solid 320 to 2. Solar so juicy to short. Pray it back test like this trend line. Right, I know it's not a clean one. I know it's not clean. It's not perfect, but look what happened. Once it broke below it, retest it. Oh, that'd be a gift. For solar, love. Hold up. Things that aren't bearish. Look at this. Oh my God. All right, I've said this. So here's the scenarios on. I'm going to rehash this with my friends here about where to short this. What I'm looking for. Chop top, or it pulls one of these. And if it pulls one of these, you got to have stops. And if you buy long-term puts, be prepared. Chop. One spike, boom. That's the knee bend formation. Where because again, just flip this chart upside down. Literally. Like flip it upside down and it would make sense. Because you take out the lows, then you pop. This is this would be the epic favorite. Now again, like I said, 150. Oh, look at that. I dropped pretty good freehand. That's what I want to see. This chop pop up on some stupid upgrade from JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, Goldman. Oh, First Solar's going to 200. No, it's not. Nobody's putting solar on their house right now. Maybe 2 or 3 years from now. I don't know. Let's get in. Is that clear? That's what I want to see, and I'm not buying puts until then. I'm waiting. Now, if you shorted up here and you got stock, you're waiting. It's all good. Is what it is. HYG, because it's down here. Not making new lows. We'll see. USO. Corporate debt. That's what I was talking about. That's what it is. Not surprised. Buy the rumor, buy the hurricane, sell the damage report. Well, we started getting damage reports. Oil pulled down, came back. Not surprised. UNG. Chopping. All this stuff feels like it could bounce here near term. Then you probably could pull out the shorts. And I've said this, XOP. Do not buy the drip if the market isn't capitulating. If the market is potentially rising. Things that aren't bearish. And now people are like, oh, but the market, no, I'm telling you, the market doesn't look as weak as they try to portray it as. You're reading the news going, market in chaos. Look at this crap. Holding up. Do not buy the drip. Wait for it to bounce. Wait for the oil bounce. Maybe it's just the gap fill. Maybe it's the 100-day, because the 100-day is always like a tractor beam. Look at this son of a biscuit. Please, if you are out there in Discord room, watch the 100-day. I had the note. So every freaking time it pops up, watch the 100. Oh, Jesus. What does Jesus have to do with your bad typing, Dan? Watch the 100-day. Oops. Okay. Got it? Good. Very good. ExxonMobil. Look at that. Came back. Oh, I'm shorting it every pop. I'm telling you. Don't do it. It doesn't look that bearish to me. It's not taking out the lows. Just got to be smart, okay? Don't short these little pops right now, because I still think, now again, you should, if you bought the hurricane, sold the damage report, XOP names should probably drop a little. But I'm telling you, the market doesn't look as weak as they're trying to portray. There's underlying things that are not showing the market is about to absolutely unwind. When it is, you'll see it. I mean, it won't be, you can't miss it. Now, if this is a trap and news comes out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, again, that's why I don't put RSI, MACD, and all this bull crap on my charts, because guess what? It just follows price, and it can't predict the news either. So what usefulness is it? All right. Let me pull off a little bonus trade here. UVXY. If you want to short it, here you go. Short it up near 12.13 with a tight stop. It could come right back down to 8 or 7. This thing is a piece of junk. Have a great weekend. Please reach out if you need help. Next week, I will be back. Hopefully, more Monday, Tuesday-ish around. Have to finish my landscaping project. Again, saving myself like 10 grand, doing it with a friend who is excellent. If you ever have questions about Denver and you need handyman / general contractor / does everything, is a freaking genius. I'll show you the pictures when it's done. He's the man. And he's reasonable. He charges what it cost him to do on a reasonable level. He's not trying to make $1 million on every project, because every project isn't $1 million project. He enjoys doing the projects as well. If you have real estate questions, I'm telling y'all, please, if you're looking at investment properties, tee it up, because if the TLT does pop at some point because of inflation coming down to deflation, oh my God, you might have like this nice middle ground where you're able to get mortgage rates back in the 4s or 5s very quickly. And if you could get under contract and then rates go higher later, oh my God. But again, price, and then think about it. If the TLT rises and bond rates go lower near term because of a spike in the fear, and you could find and identify a property and get under contract, get a mortgage. Because right now, mortgage rates are near 7. If you get it near 4, and also if everyone's freaking out, those sellers are probably going to be like, the world's ending. Take my house. It's worthless. You're going to be like, yes, I will take it for 30 or 40% less. Maybe. You never know. All right. I love helping you guys out. I appreciate all the love and support, donations, everything. Again, I apologize. And some people are like, Dan, you got to just focus on what you're doing. I'm always trying to focus and help you guys. And if I'm not perfect, well, guess what? Let me pull up something that I recommend everybody watch this weekend. Was it Shanzan dropped it in the Discord room? Where was it? Chat. Sorry, if I can find it. It's a Rande Howell video. I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna show you this guy. If you're not familiar, watch his stuff. You have to go to his channel and watch his stuff. I'm telling you, it's excellent. It's absolutely excellent content. And if you're not familiar with it, I get it. I'm honestly, like I said, I am recording this, talking about, because this is how important this stuff is, I think. It's the mental side of this. This guy is a free psychological coach on YouTube, but he charges thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. And guess what? He has endless content for free. Here you go. This is what I want you to watch, the specific one. I'm dropping the link. Here you go. Make a ton of money trading, must overcome this first. I'm going to put this in to the description. Please watch it. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Talk to you later. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, your PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.